What's going on YouTube? Sean here, and welcome back to another edition of After the Movie. I just went ahead and I saw the new Venom film, Venom: The Last Dance. I'm here to give my quick, unfiltered thoughts on it, I suppose. So, I've already done videos on the first two Venom films. Like, they're kind of like a little bit like the Schumacher Batman films. I get some entertainment value out of them. The first film, Tom Hardy and Venom were very entertaining to watch. The rest of the movie around him was not good. I actually like Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I feel like that one is kind of like gets more of a mixed response, but it kind of knew exactly what it was. It was a lot more goofy and campy and just leaned heavily into that stuff. And, you know, everyone's going so over the top. Woody Harrelson's going over the top and everyone. I'm like, I had a pretty good time with that one. But Venom: The Last Dance, so this one just came out, well, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Finally now getting around to watching the movie. And, I think it's probably my least favorite of the three. Now, there are some good aspects to it. I mean, Tom Hardy is still entertaining with him in this dynamic as Venom, and there is some good action within the third act, but this is a messy, messy movie. I feel like there's a bit too much kind of going on in here, and there's characters that are in there, but I have no idea what's going on with them. The trailers advertise a villain known as Null, who I'm not all that familiar with, but from what I heard in the comics, the stuff with Null is really good. But he's just kind of relegated to just sitting like in a chair the whole entire movie. He never really interacts with Eddie or Venom, and it's just kind of underwhelming. I guess they're setting up for some big bad of the Sony Spider-Verse. I don't know what Sony's doing with this thing. In fact, Null feels like a last-minute addition added completely in post-production. Like, all of his scenes feel like they could, in some ways, like, because like everything about him feels almost 80 yard. So maybe the original version of this movie was, I'm gonna put this at my back right here, was quite different, and that's the vibes I kind of get with this film. I guess it was kind of filmed during the writers and actor strike, so a lot of the movie is just kind of all like over the place. The stuff with Tom Hardy and, well, Tom Hardy, where it's Venom them kind of on the run, that stuff could be kind of fun, but then it kind of keeps cutting back and forth to this really boring storyline with the military and the symbiotes they've captured. And then there's this one scientist lady who they keep cutting to her, like, I guess as a child, and her brother just gets struck by lightning. I didn't even know her name. Like, I don't know if they even, I think they maybe say it once in the film. I can't tell you a single thing about her character other than flashbacks. Brother gets struck by lightning for whatever reason. I'm like, were they just out there? Is this like some weird dream thing? I don't know. And then you also have this other military guy. They're trying to stop Venom and Eddie because when Eddie died, Venom kind of helped brought him back to life, and that acts as sort of a codex entry because of their symbiosis, which is like a key to release Null. And so Null is sending out all these little symbiote monsters, symbiote hunters to Earth to try and stop them. And these things are pretty like vicious, like they're pretty indestructible for the most part. I mean, these things just take gunfire. They take every little thing that you can throw at them and just keep surviving. And I was just they kind of remind me a little bit of like the T-1000 in Terminator 2, where it's just like, despite you have to pretty much implode the whole thing in order to kind of kill these things. But again, because unlike the last two films where there was kind of a villain that had more of a connection to Eddie Brock, these are just kind of like mindless threats that are just kind of in there. These are just the lackeys of the main big bad villain. And it kind of takes you out of the situation a little bit. So now Eddie's on the run from the military. He's also on the run from like these symbiotes, him and Venom. There's some goofy stuff. They follow along some sort of like bizarre hippie family. And there's just like kind of this awkwardness to the film. And again, that was some of the charm in like the first two films. But I do like the fact that like Tom Hardy just looks like total shit like the whole movie. Like he's just, you can just tell, like, because a lot of movies they try and clean up the characters and all that, try and make him look like pristine and clean in every shot. No, this Venom looks like he's just been through some shit. And like the whole movie, he just looks like exhausted and not sure what he's really kind of doing. And there is some fun, humorous stuff between him and Venom. I mean, I like Tom Hardy's performance. I just feel like, what was the real direction in this movie? I felt like the first two films, there was a lot more kind of focus. This one's just kind of all over the place. And again, the boring military stuff, I could not care less about what happens there. You do get some other symbiotes that kind of come into play, and it kind of tries to be a little bit emotional towards the end of the film, which may or may not work for some people. But for me, this one was just kind of messy, and it lacked the focus of the first two films. Not to say that the first two Venom films are amazing or anything like that. I think the first film, like the stuff with Tom Hardy and Venom, I really enjoyed that, but just that budding relationship. But the rest of the stuff centered around it, like the villain was so terrible and everything else around it. But at least, you know what? I will give that villain a little bit more props. Like, Noel seems kind of cool in the little bit we get of him in the movie, but because he's just kind of locked away, don't really expect much with him. It just kind of takes me out of it. I would like a little bit more of something, but I guess they're going to set him up as a big bad. You know what? I don't even know what they're doing with the Sony Spider-Verse. Is he going to come to the MCU now? Are we going to finally get Tom Holland and Tom Hardy teaming up, or Andrew Garfield and Tom Hardy? Or can we just get Spider-Man and Venom together at this point? He shows up at the end of No Way Home. In like that post-credits bit, he appeared at the end of Venom 2 there. Then he's immediately taken out of the MCU just to kind of like go back and in. They're just like, I'm done with this multiverse shit. And I'm like, we just want to see Spider-Man and Venom together. Is that too much to ask for? Are we going to get like the Sinister Six or something? These Sony like Marvel movies, I haven't seen Madam Web yet. I did see Morbius, which again is another film with so much studio interference. All these movies are just like studio like interference here and there, and this film kind of felt the same way. There's a few cool ideas, like Venom Horse is pretty cool, Venom Frog, Venom Fish. I like the movie best when it's just Tom Hardy and Venom just kind of hanging out with stuff, like the stuff with them just doing goofy stuff in Vegas. I would rather just watch that than some of this other boring, uninteresting military stuff. The stuff with Noel is just kind of an exposition dump. Again, it feels like it was completely like added into like post, like as a last minute addition, because it feels so like off from everything else that's kind of in the movie. Because like I said, Venom is fighting these mindless Venom dog things or whatever, or these symbiote killers. But the stuff with Noel, there's no real personal connection fully with Eddie Brock or anything like that. He's just a nameless threat kind of in the background. And when you're just fighting like endless things of monsters, which can work in some movies like A Quiet Place or something like that. But here, it just, after what we got in the first two films, especially like Venom 2, this one just felt a little bit less interesting. And yeah, there's some cool action bits kind of at the end, but I just felt kind of checked out by the end of it. And again, I'm somebody who was hoping for something kind of goofy fun, because like I said, I'm a fan of Venom 2. Like, I thought it was like more entertaining than the first film. Like, the Venom films were kind of the equivalent to like the Schumacher Batman movies. Not quite as entertaining, but films that are just time capsules from like the early 2000s that are somehow released today, and a bit more memorable. And I wanted a little bit more with this movie, and it just wasn't giving it to me compared to like, at least, like I said, I have to keep going back to the first two. The first two films were definitely a lot better than this one, in my opinion, because this one's just a messy film. There's a bit too much going on. I had no idea who this, like, why is this lady flashing back to, like, am I supposed to care? There's no effort put forth in some of these other characters to establish them or anything like that. Venom 2 at least established Carnage and his girlfriend. This film, it's like, scientist lady, brother struck by lightning. I don't know what's going on there. It felt like, what am I missing? Like, it tried to have like this emotional gut punch, but like, these actors are just kind of wasted. Was it Juno Temple and that other guy, Chiwetel? I can't pronounce his name. It begins with a C though. Like, who's like the main military guy in the film. Like, that just stuff was just And then we have Eddie following along with this like hippie family, who did get a few kind of laughs in the movie. Like, it's not the worst film I've seen all year, but it just left me kind of wanting a bit more. And again, I'm somebody who actually liked Venom Let There Be Carnage. And Venom 1, Tom Hardy and Venom, that stuff I love, but the rest of the movie around it was just so bad. But this one just kind of was boring for a large chunk of it and just kind of messy with its stuff. So, yeah. All right, well, that's all I really have to say about Venom: The Last Dance. I'm sure this isn't the last we've seen of Tom Hardy, despite the way this thing kind of wraps itself up. There's also a mid-credits and a post-credits scene, and the post-credits scene, I don't really know what they're going for with that at all. Again, it just feels kind of messy, and maybe this film was heavily studio meddled with, and it wouldn't surprise me, because this is Sony we're talking about. You see what they've done with every one of their movies so far. Kraven the Hunter is going to do the same thing. It's just, man, Sony is really screwing things up with their stuff. Venom 2 is the only one that felt like a full movie, like, I think. Because, like, look at Morbius. That one was changed a lot in post and all that and messed with. Madam Web, I haven't seen it, but I hear it's absolutely terrible. Also a film where they didn't really know what to do with it, and everything, I guess, is like ADR'd and messed up in that, too. So, yeah. I guess I got to check out Madam Web just to complete the Sony Spider-Man-less movies. Just throw Spider-Man in there. Give us, make Andrew Garfield the Sony Spider-Man. Let Sam Raimi stuff stay in its own unique universe, but these random Sony spin-off films, I feel like Andrew Garfield would be kind of perfect for it, because there's like, do we want to do MCU? Do we not? just make it Garfield. Throw a bunch of money at him, have him cameo or something. Just give us Venom and Spider-Man already. This is a bunch of bullshit. I'm tired of this. Like, give me Venom and Spider-Man interacting. I'm sick of this. Well, maybe they're here kind of connected. You teased it the last movie. You had Venom cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home. But do we get Venom and Spider-Man? Something that people have wanted since the first Venom movie? No, we don't get that at all. And it leaves me wanting more. Just give me Venom and Spider-Man already. Just, what the hell are you doing, Sony? This is all fucked up. So, all right, well, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.